Good morning and welcome to 1 Million Cups. And we are in Carl Junction today, and that's part of our summer road trips. And if you didn't come to the last one, we were in Neosho in May. We're in Carl Junction today, and then next month in July we'll be in Carthage. So we encourage you to come and join us, and then in August we'll start back full force every week in Joplin. So I know we have at least one new person, newbie, but has anyone else never been to 1 Million Cups? Oh, well, good. Oh, Fibber. All right, well, welcome. 1 Million Cups is a entrepreneurial education program put on by the Kaufman Foundation out of Kansas City, where they have the Royals. And there's over 150 groups that meet every Wednesday morning across the country, and that's why it's called 1 Million Cups. But anyway, the idea is it is networking in a way, but it's not. What they want you to do is to talk about your business, what's going on in your business, what you need help with, and then our number one question is how can we as a community help you? And we have presenters, and then we open it up for question and answer. And that's where the really good parts happen, is we get lots of people connecting and, hey, have you tried this, or what about this idea, or well, I never thought about that, or whatever. So it's a very valuable tool, and we've had over, I believe, 100 businesses in the Joplin area that have presented since we started. And we are always looking for more. I know we have a newbie here today. What is it?
AOE.
AOE bookkeeping. So she's new, never been to 1 Million Cups, but you can always present. And you haven't been before?
No.
What, do you have a business?
Gary.
Or, huh?
I'm with Gary.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Good. Okay.
I am the person.
She's the boss.
Right. She's the woman in charge.
She keeps the headlines, right?
Yes.
I already knew that, Gary.
She's why I showed up.
Well, we're glad. Well, anyway, but we'd love to have you over here on the board. There's a couple little things. One is for our email list. If you haven't signed up for that, I encourage you to scan the code, fill that out, and then you'll get all of our email notifications. If you haven't liked and followed our Facebook page, you can check on there too, because we post on both every week. So we'll try to get that. And then the other board is, if you've not presented your business yet, you can actually apply to present on there, and we'd love to have you do that. So, all right, well, our first speaker this week is Gary Mishler from the Bobby Jean team. So he's going to come and talk about his business and what's going on, and the floor is yours.
Don't worry, for all you good Baptists, I promise to have you out in time to get a good place in the food line. Hello, I'm Gary Mishler with the Bobby Jean team. We are a real estate team with Keller Williams. I'm the founding member. We started a year ago in January. It was strictly a way for me to process my income and have the tax shelters that I needed. And when we founded our LLC, that's what we thought it would be. Life changes, and we change with it. So in October or November of last year, my wife and I were driving down the road, and I was having a conversation with myself, and she had no part of it. And so randomly, we're driving down I-44 headed to Tulsa. About Afton, I said out loud finally, I'm afraid. That's why I've got to do it. And she's like, I have no clue what you're talking about. And I had been having a debate in my head about leaving the team that I was currently on and starting my own real estate team. And so I then catch her up on the whole conversation that she had missed out on. And we both decided that this was the road that we needed to head down. So we started having the conversations with the people we needed to have conversations with. Benji he was with me on our previous team, and he came with me on Bobby Jean team. The day I talked to our team lead and let him know that I was leaving, I took Benji to lunch right after, and I told Benji, I said, well, I'm leaving the team we're on. And he goes, oh, thank God. And I was like, what do you mean, thank God? And he's like, I thought you were firing me. So our conversation went from Benji's going to be fired to, this is what we want to build. We want to have a community-driven real estate team. Do you want to be part of it? And he said yes. So as our team started building itself, trying to figure out how we were going to integrate our business and make real estate work for us, we realized that neither one of us enjoy going out and putting ourselves in front of people. This is huge for me because I am terrified of speaking publicly. Like, I'll make jokes and stuff to make it a little more comfortable, but this is not naturally what I want to do. So we decided to start networking, and one of the first networking events we came to was the Carl Junction Chamber of Commerce Business Empowerment Group. They was so supportive. Like, the group there, it just felt like we had stepped into home, because it wasn't like we were outsiders walking in. They made networking in that group comfortable enough that we were confident to be able to take our business to the next place, into the next place, into the next place. So thank you for creating that group and that atmosphere for us to be able to grow in. Real estate is a crazy field right now. The market is up. The prices of properties are higher than they've ever been. And everybody keeps thinking that the bubble is going to burst and everything's going to go back to the way it was. And I don't think it will. This is the new normal. COVID changed the environment of our economy forever. So interest rates historically are still lower than they've ever been, but they're higher than our little brains can remember. Our brains remember 3, 4, 5%. Historically, in the 70s and 80s, they were 12, 15%, like dramatically up. So will they go down a little bit? Probably. I don't think that we'll stay this high, but it's not going to ever go back to what it was either. I feel like I've just rambled. Now I'm lost. So a little bit of backstory of how I got to where I am. I was a cop for 5 years in Joplin. When my wife and I had the opportunity to adopt our son Joey, I became his primary caregiver. I stayed home with him all the time. And when he got older, he went to preschool, and I was like, I don't have any friends left. What am I going to do with my life? So I got my first adult job again, selling cars, and it went amazing. I loved helping people find their way to the next goal and the next vision that they had. And so when the opportunity presented itself to learn real estate, I asked my friend Brian, who invited me to be part of his team. I was like, I don't know anything about real estate. Will you teach me? So over the course of 18 months, I learned so much. Like, it was an avalanche of information that I learned in the course of that time period. But the one thing that stayed constant is whether I was working with an 18-year-old investor who was starting his life out and getting on the fast track, or an adult who's in their 40s who've never owned a home and have just rented their whole life. No matter what facet of real estate I'm in, I'm always champion somebody else's dream. And so for me, to be able to take somebody else's dream and build it into something bigger is just enormous. Because if there's one thing I love more than anything, it's people and helping them. So with our business, we have created opportunities for us to network. We've also become a part of our community with sporting events. So we sponsor sports teams. When I was thinking about this, the one thing I'm really excited about is the day that our business is big enough that I'm not just supporting my son's sport team, and Bobby Jean team is his logo, but every single division of every single sporting league will have a Bobby Jean team, because there is not enough people right now to support those features. So that's one of the dreams that I have, is to build a business that will help support our community. My son absolutely loves sports, so again, I want to champion his dream. So He told me the other day, he said, "What are you going to do when I play in the NFL?" And I was like, "I have no clue, son." Absolutely no clue. So that's what we do. Our motto is dream, believe, pursue, achieve. And so that's what we want to do with our clients. And that's who we are.
Tell us more what are you doing residential, commercial, or you doing rental properties? What do you do?
We do everything. So residential is our main focus area, but we do have a 20-unit apartment complex on the market right now for sale, and she's also got duplexes. So we're moving into the commercial area, and those properties need better management. So we're in negotiations with her to move into property management. So we just, whatever our client's dream is, wherever they need to go, we want to pick up that dream and help them get to where they're headed.
Are you only in Missouri or is there Canada?
Missouri and Oklahoma right now. Benji has talked about getting his Kansas license. So eventually we would like to be in at least the 3 states. Arkansas is a great market, but it's so saturated and a little bit crazy. It doesn't really make sense to drive an hour for a market that's already overloaded already. So I think Kansas, Missouri, and Oklahoma will probably be, by the time we're done, where we end up.
Do you have an office?
We work out of the Keller Williams office at 619 South Florida. So with real estate, you hang your shingle under a brokerage. And so our brokerage is Keller Williams, and so all of our stuff flows through them, and that's where our team is based out of.
So if your name is Gary, then who's Bobby G?
There you go. So Bobby Jean has 2 meanings for us. Bobby Jean was my grandpa and my hero. And so whenever I was forming my LLC to be paid under, I wanted to use his name and to be able to honor him in that facet. When we did this and actually had a team that our public name was going to be Bobby Jean, people kept telling me it doesn't make any sense, it's not attached to you in any way, and I was very emotional. I'm not usually super emotional, but I was very emotional and adamant about Bobby Jean will be the name of my real estate team, and I didn't know why until me and Stephanie were driving that weekend and she started talking about Cecilia Ann. And we have had a lot of fertility issues and had a lot of babies that died before birth. And our daughter was gonna be Cecilia Ann after her grandma and my grandma, and my son was gonna be Bobby Jean. And we lost both of those babies, and that's the emotional attachment for me to Bobby Jean. I thought it was just my grandpa, and I was like, I don't understand that doesn't make sense. But when I realized that we were planning on naming our son Bobby Jean, the emotions of it made way more sense at that point.
And this is the birth for us, like this is the birth of something huge, stepping out in faith and going out on our own. So it definitely is that double meaning of the birth of something else.
So how many's on your team?
We've got 3. It's Benji and I are real estate agents, and then my wife Stephanie is our boss. We had a meeting yesterday and she was telling us, you will have a tracking device that you will fill out daily by Thursday. And me and Benji were like, yes, ma'am.
You talked about rates and the market. I'm assuming it's a seller's market. Maybe I'm wrong. Can you talk about what kind of market it is, and then maybe what trends would have to happen to make it be a buyer's market?
So right now, I think it's a seller's market. And it's just because the market is so tight right now. There's not, our inventory, I think we're at 500 or 600 units on the entire market. And when a good house comes on the market, it's usually gone the first week. And we're back to the same 400 or 500 houses that haven't sold for 150 days already. So in that aspect, it is definitely a buyer's market. What I perceive happening in the future months is I think interest rates will go down, and it's only going to strengthen the fact that it's a buyer's market, because there are so many buyers right now that are sitting on the sidelines saying, well, I'll buy when rates go down. I'll do this when this happens. Well, when that happens, you're going to take an entire bucket of people who are now wanting to buy and dump it into the pool, which has already got buyers everywhere, and it's just going to overload the market. So I don't think that it switches from a seller's market to a buyer's market anytime soon. I think that we will still be seeing the sell side having a little bit more power than the buy side.
What would you say, or how would you recommend someone who is wanting to sell a house, that is wanting to sell a house by owner, how would you encourage them to go with a realtor? Because I unfortunately I'm on Kansas side, but I have clients that are wanting to sell a house, but they're wanting to do it by owner. I'm like, so yeah, how do you?
Sometimes people have to learn the hard way. And putting your house on the market yourself is the best way to learn the hard way that you did not want to sell that house yourself in the first place. We've had clients who did for sale by owner, and they get it started and it's going great, and then the questions start coming, and they have no way of knowing, because you can put your house on a bunch of MLSs without being a licensed agent. Just putting a house on an MLS, though, does not mean the house is going to sell. There's so much more open houses. The signage will drive people to see it. And buying a for sale sign at Dollar General and sticking it in your yard is not going to catch very many people's eyes. They're going to drive right by that. So a lot of times it's that patience of letting them step out and make that mistake, and then picking up the broken pieces after. I'll be honest with you, convincing for sale by owners not to sell their house themselves is not my forte. It goes against my nature, and I'm like, well, I hate that you're going to do this, but when you're done with the mistake, I'll be here for you. So I don't really have a great answer for how to convince them not to make that mistake, but I think that that's the biggest issue is time. A real estate agent is going to have the knowledge about the market to price the house right, and that's 90% of the fight right there is pricing the house right, because that draws people to it.
We were talking about your younger entrepreneur earlier. What is one or two tips that you would give a younger couple or individual that has never owned a house before, they've always rented, but they're ready to take that next step? What is something you'd help prepare them for?
So the biggest thing I would do there is encourage them to get with a lender and find a good lender that's going to work for them and that's going to support them. When it comes to processing a transaction, aside from an agent who can help you navigate the waters to find a good property, that lender is going to be the most valuable asset that you have in your tool bag. The second thing I would encourage them on is get qualified for a government loan and buy either a 2, 3, or 4 unit multi-family facility. You can buy up to a 4 unit facility on a government loan. You can live in one and rent 3. So you've got 3 income generating properties from the word go. If you don't want to have the headache of keeping tenants, then your real estate agent can manage that property and you can give him a cut of the amount that you're making. But to have income generating property from a young age is absolutely massive.
I would add on to that, if they are a sole proprietor or a business, you need to make sure your books are straightened out before you go to the lender. And that's something that I specialize in doing, is cleaning that up, taking that box of receipts and getting it into QuickBooks, getting it into the software, so they have a report to give those lenders. Because I've seen too many people freaking out, I need this now. Well, it's gonna take 6 weeks to do. You gotta get that in place. So if they own a little business or have that as their income, they definitely need to get that in place too.
That's good.
So, I'm sorry.
What are some things that you do? First of all, I really appreciate that you're community driven. It's nice to see realtors out in the community and accessible. What are some things that you're doing? You talked about sponsoring baseball teams, some other things to market yourselves.
So we have sponsored a baseball team, basketball team, every sports team that my child has done. We did, when he was in rec soccer, we did his soccer team. Next fall, when it rolls around, if he is doing club soccer, which is not a sponsored deal, I plan on either still sponsoring a football team or a soccer team. Going out, getting involved in the Chamber of Commerce. Joey, we stopped by and seen Nick the other day for his last day of school, and Joey was like, "So what's a Chamber of Commerce, Dad?" And I was like, "How do I even explain that to him?" And so I was like, "Well, son, I really feel like a Chamber of Commerce is a group of business people who love their community enough that they want it to be successful. And by making their community successful, they've got to get together and help everybody else be successful." And he said, "But why?" And I was like, "I knew that was coming." And so Chamber of Commerce is another amazing opportunity that we've had to get our name out there.
Well, we're always looking, like, anytime that there's any kind of marketing or sponsorship or anything that we see, like on Facebook, from friends saying, "Hey, we're looking for sponsors," like, that's something that we always are looking at, like, is this something that would be feasible for us to do? Like, it's not just, so far, it's been mostly our stuff, and then,
We fed teachers.
yeah, we fed teachers, like, just stuff that we can do to help, but it just has to be feasible at the time, so.
And I will say, I know you don't like bragged on, but you do a lot of volunteering. It's one of those where if there's an older client of Julie's that had her clothesline fall down, brought it up at BEG,
Yeah.
you and Benji were the first to jump up, like, it's no problem for us to go help this lady. So it's not just like putting your logo out there. You're everywhere volunteering, helping, and I know you do stuff that you won't even tell me about because you don't like people to brag about you. So you do a lot more than you let on about as well.
Right.
So thank you for that.
Now I'm blushing. I can
With that in mind, an opportunity for you would be some of the nonprofit golf tournaments that are going on. It's like $100 for a sign and a tee at a hole, and it benefits those community members. I know that Solace House of the Ozarks is gonna have their golf tournament soon, cause they're one of my clients. And I don't remember what she said, I think it's $100, maybe $50 for a sign at a hole, and it's advertising to people to say, hey, this company's out there, because I can tell you're like me, and it's a heart of influence thing going on, and, yeah.
He was the mulligan man at our golf tournament. He sold all the mulligans we had. So, I mean.
And then I started selling mulligans I didn't have. I said, "What do I do when I run out?" They're like, "It's kind of a..."
We take 100 mulligans and he sells all of them. He's like, okay, I'll sell more. So I'm like, hey. So.
That was a very fun day, by the way.
It was a great day.
So, the big question is, what challenges do you guys have, and how can we help you with those challenges?
The biggest challenge that we have is finding new clients. So if you have friends that mention they need a realtor, pass their information on to us or pass our information on to them. That's the biggest thing that we could use help with, is getting more and more connections. Because the more people we're able to help as real estate agents, the more funds we then have to put back into our community.
And not only that too, but if you know anybody that is looking to go into real estate, like, thinking about becoming an agent or something along that lines, I know Gary and Benji are always open to meet with anybody, any questions that they have, or even if, they don't know if they wanna buy or sell, or they just have questions. That's one thing that they are always willing to meet with anybody to answer any questions. Whether it leads to anything or not, they're more about providing the information than than getting the sale at the end of the day. You know, they want everybody to be as knowledgeable and successful in whatever they want to do, so.
And we
Also-
partially got Benji raised so we can bring him a sibling in.
Right?
I would say a lot of people are curious to know the value of their home. Zillow is not correct at all.
No.
We offer free CMAs, just on the house.
Do you do, I know you talked about like what you do with your son, but do you do anything to branch out to the people who are getting ready to buy in like reaching out to like the college age? Like, do you do any sponsorships or things that help promote at the college level? Because those are the people who are getting ready to be grown-ups and buy the big kid houses and do the big kid things.
That is a very grown-up thing for you to say.
I
I'm
know.
really glad you brought that up because I have never thought about that.
I mean, we have such a good set of like college and career type things here. There's Franklin Tech. I mean, not even just like colleges,
Right.
but like Franklin Tech. You know, both the Crowder options, and a lot of those people may not know what it takes to buy a house, and they may not be ready to buy it now or 6 months from now. But if you pair up with like a cool mortgage lender, you can do like a joint thing that helps tell them like, what do I need to do to get myself ready to buy a house? Like, what does my credit score need to be? What kind of things do I need to walk into this thing prepared for? What books do I need to have ready so that I don't walk in and look like, oh, you still got another 6 months or a year before you're ready,
Right.
when you could be ready, 6 months after graduation.
And-
Or the curious person of, man, I actually want to do this for a career.
Yeah.
And how can I be able to join you or get more information just to educate about the business itself?
Right.
Yeah.
So,
Like two birds, one stone, they hold a career day. It and Southern both do that. They hold some sort of career day. You just set up a booth. You can talk to people that might be interested in buying a house soon, or ones that are looking maybe into real estate as a, sub income.
Because it's probably not, it may not translate to a sale today or next week,
right.
but 3 years from now, when they see you out in town at another function, they're gonna be like, oh yeah, I remember that guy, he came to my career day. You know, the third grader is probably not gonna remember, but the
I'm pretty memorable.
sophomore in college
I
might.
think CJ does a career day once a year.
They do too.
Every local, you can reach out, I know that Eugene Field did one too, reach out to Tara, because she does a lot of career days and knows how to make them fun, so I'm sure that she can help you with how to make yours fun too. Yeah, but she does, I know several of the Joplin elementary schools, they do it too.
Nice.
So you said something earlier that got my attention, I've been thinking about it since you said it, and that was you said, if there's a hot house or whatever that sells, and they sell within a week, but you still have the same 400 or 500 houses on the market. Okay, well, those 400 or 500 houses that are on the market, why are they still sitting there on the market? And if you tried somehow offering a free evaluation or something to those people or something, or, maybe they just need someone to help walk it through and go like, well, you need to change this or do this or whatever to get more attention, or I don't know, something.
So with the houses that are on the market, they have an agent who is listing them. And so for another agent to have those conversations, we couldn't do that. The reason most of those houses are sitting on the market is it's because they don't qualify for FHA or government-backed loans. There are cash transactions, or they're flip houses that are way overpriced. There are some houses that are on the market that are probably $50 to $60 per square foot houses, and they're listed at around 100. So there are flippers all over town who are hunting for houses to rebuild and help our community in that aspect by adding doors that are livable to our community, but they can't do it because the price point that people are asking for those properties are just outrageous. And so those are the properties that are setting on the market for an extended period of time, is the things that are overpriced for what the market would allow.
I got a question. I know your industry can be challenging within flooding of agents within the area, because you kind of mentioned about Arkansas. Is there, AKA, a group of people, a real estate several different companies, but you kind of work together. And what I mean by that is like, hey, I don't know how this happens because I'm not in this game, so you just correct me if I'm wrong. Say I'm a buyer and I'm looking to buy something, but the current agent that I'm currently with can't really find me anything. But then you've got a phone call in regards to the exact house that I'm looking for. So can my agent connect me with you, or you and my agent talk to get me the house that you have that, you know, is that what I'm getting at? Is there a team? Is there like a place where 4 or 5 people that's different companies, but you're working together as for your purpose of people, helping people?
Like you and Julie.
Right, absolutely. So is there a thing or not a thing?
So the way real estate works is there are boards that you're a part of, and those boards bring multiple agencies together. So like OGAR is the board we're a part of, Keller Williams, Reese Nichols, Pro 100, all of those different agencies come together under the banner of OGAR as a facilitating agent to help people do exactly what you're saying.
Okay.
In reality, that should work wonderfully, but it doesn't as well as it should. The way you're talking, if you know somebody's looking for something, you should reach out to another agent and get that connection made.
Right.
I agree 100%. That doesn't happen as much as it should, because there are a lot of people who have hopes that if that agent gets to the point where his people are tired of him, then he'll move on to the next person. I'm the type of person that believes that the tide should raise every ship. Like, if there's a property that I have that I can make a connection with, then I don't care who the agent is, I would love to help them make a connection for their client so that everybody wins. Because if we can all win, we can all be successful, and then we're not worrying about competition. So.
Thank you.
Maybe just a random question. What do you like about Keller Williams brokerage?
So, the team that I was previously on was very isolated, and we didn't take advantage. While I was there, was told not to take advantage of a lot of the things that I could have taken advantage of. What I like about Keller Williams, since I have become my own person and working my own team, is there are so many people there. Like Johnny was just saying, if you could get a bunch of banners together that are fighting in the same direction, like Keller Williams under that banner has a lot of people who will try to bring you up. If there's something that they know that you don't, they'll gladly sit down and tell you what they're doing. So that for me is what I like most about Keller Williams, is the people that I work with, and the fact that it's not, oh, it's me against you. It's, we've all got business coming in, let's all be successful, and then our flagship becomes stronger because we're all making each other stronger as well. So that's what I like most about it. I've never worked anywhere else though, as far as real estate goes, so it could be like that everywhere. I don't know, but for me, that's the community of people who are just excited to see everybody else raise up is what I love about being there.
In this journey, what do you want to be known for?
Weird answer, I don't. I'm the type of person that's perfectly happy being in the shadows. The coolest thing that I think I could ever get out of real estate is if 10 years from now, Benji is the master of everything real estate in Joplin.
I pretty much am now.
If you could also help me figure out how to help him do that and be humble, that would be cool.
And fill out an envelope along the way.
We've got that covered now. Envelopes and checks are already checked off our checklist. That, for me, if nobody ever knows my name, but there's so many people like Benji who are successful in real estate and who have taken their life from a point where they had a dream and something they were chasing after to, man, I'm at the top of the mountain now. I've done everything I could imagine to do. For me, that would be the greatest career in real estate I could ever have. If I could help 10 or 15 people like Benji go from kind of lost and trying to find their way to achieving every dream that they ever had.
Which is part of why it's not the Gary Mishler team too. Part of having the Bobby Jean team is that the Bobby Jean team is what's known, not necessarily the people behind it. So when the people behind it change, or we gain people, they're still Bobby Jean team. They're known in the community and known as part of the Bobby Jean team instead of the Gary Mishler team.
I love it. I have a question though. What are you doing to still highlight those individual people within your team? Like, because the connections is important for real estate to get the new job. So if somebody only knows you as the Bobby Jean team, they may not choose to come to you because they don't know that Stephanie is there or that Gary is there. But if they knew Gary was there, they would be there. So are
Right.
you, like on your social media or website or whatever you've got, are you using that connection where they see your name and your face and put that with Bobby Jean team?
So all of our, like we have the Bobby Jean team page, and then Benji and I both have Gary and Benji at Bobby Jean team, and then we have our personal Facebooks as well. All of our, like Benji does door knocking. So instead of putting my picture on there by itself, all of our materials have me and Benji both on it. And as we add people, we'll do that for them as well. The one thing that I learned in leaving the team that I was on is I don't ever want somebody to spend 5 years of their life and decide that they want to go do something else, and all I'm worried about is keeping what I can. When somebody builds something with me, when they're done with where they're at with me, I want them to leave with every bit of that so that they can continue to be successful, and it's not them starting over again trying to figure out how to do it from scratch again.
Yeah.
Okay.